Used semi-truck prices are finally crashing, and in this video, I'm going to explain why. This may sound like great news, but for those of you that just bought a used truck last year, you're probably not too happy. And I totally understand why, because just a few years ago, my used 2016 Volvo truck was worth around $36,000. Just 1 year later, in 2021, I sold that same semi-truck for $78,000. But wait, that's not even the craziest part. Just 3 months later, the dealership that I sold my truck to reconditioned it and sold it for $90,000. My beat up used semi-truck almost tripled in price in just 1 year, and the reason for it is a lot simpler than you think. Over the last few years, the trucking industry was the hottest industry to be in. Everyone was working from home, restaurants were closed, travel was restricted, and the government was handing out thousands of dollars in stimulus checks. With all this money being pumped into the economy, you could really only spend it on one thing: physical products. And just take a wild guess how all these physical products got transported to your doorstep. That's right. Planes, trains, and of course, semi-trucks. The demand for actual physical products just blew up in 2021, and because of that, shippers started paying a lot of money to move loads. At that time, if you had your own truck and you weren't making hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, you were doing something wrong, and a lot of truckers realized that. There was an easy opportunity to make a lot of money in trucking, which is why thousands of truck drivers started getting their own authority to start a trucking company. Obviously, to move loads, you need a truck. And with all these new truckers coming in, the demand for semi-trucks went through the roof. Now here's the crazy part. At the same time as demand was rising, truck manufacturers like Volvo, Freightliner, Peterbilt, etc., they were all struggling to make new trucks because of a semiconductor shortage. All the major semiconductor companies were sending most of their components that they built to companies that made TVs, computers, and other home appliances because that's what made them the most money. Not a lot of focus was put on sending these components to semi-truck manufacturers, which created this perfect storm of high demand and low supply for semi-trucks. In 2020, if you wanted to start a new trucking company, you really only had two options. You could either pre-order a brand new truck and wait 2 to 3 years to get it, or you could buy a used one right now. Most people chose the second option, even though they knew they were overpaying. Now this leads me perfectly to where we are right now in 2022 with used semi-truck prices finally cooling down. According to a pricing analyst at Ritchie Bros, trucks sold in the second quarter of 2022 are already 20% cheaper than they were in the first quarter. So for example, a semi-truck that would have sold for $100,000 in January would sell for $80,000 in April. It's a big change, and the reason for this is something that no one saw coming, and that is people stopped buying stuff. Well, at least at the same rate that they did when they were locked inside their homes. When the government finally started letting people outside, the only thing everyone really wanted to do was socialize, travel, and just be normal again. Because of this, restaurants, clubs, gyms, and other service-based businesses reopened and started making money again. At the same time, because of all the stimulus checks that the government was handing out, inflation hit record levels, and people started spending more of their money on things that they actually need, like food and gas, instead of spending it all on Amazon. As of recording this video right now, inflation is at 8.26%, when on average, it's usually around 2 to 3%. Because of this heavy focus on service-based businesses and people spending more of their money on necessities, shippers didn't have a lot of product to move, and definitely not enough for the 100,000 new trucking companies that opened up in 2021. What happened next was truly tragic. The spot market price for loads plummeted in just a few months. Lanes that used to pay $4 per mile were now being offered for $2.30 per mile. I'm sure a lot of you owner-operators watching this remember just how bad it was and still is, but it's not as bad as what happened to the new trucking companies of 2021. If you bought a used truck in 2021 to start your own trucking company, you were screwed. not only did you buy a used truck for an insane price that you most likely had to make payments on, but you also had to pay for the constant repair and maintenance, you didn't have an established broker-shipper network, and you're barely breaking even with the loads that you're getting off load boards. With all these factors working against small trucking companies, a lot of new and established owner-operators either sold their truck and started working as a company driver again, or they just leased on with bigger carriers that can get them better load rates. I personally tried to lease on as many owner-operators as I could during this time that watched my videos and applied on our website, and about 90% of the owner-operators that we did hire are still running consistent high-paying loads with us. Unfortunately though, not every owner-operator was as lucky as them, because most just decided to call it quits and sell their truck. As these new trucking companies that started in 2021 are selling their truck, the semiconductor shortage started to become less and less of an issue, which meant that there was going to be a lot more supply of new semi-trucks. So with people leaving and new trucks finally being made, semi-truck prices are finally starting to crash, and they're going to continue to crash as long as new owner-operators can't afford to keep them. But here's the dark truth that no one's gonna tell you. Not everyone is struggling to make money in trucking right now. You remember this chart that I showed you earlier when I was talking about how the spot market is tanking and small trucking companies can't make money? Well, just take a look at this blue line right here. This blue line shows the contract rate and how it's been changing over the past few years, and as you can see, contract rates are up 10% right now, while spot rates are down more than 20%. If you don't start booking contract loads, you're going to lose a lot of money, which is why you need to watch this video right here, where I explain why contract loads pay so much money. So make sure you guys go watch this video next before you do anything else. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.